Today we're going to take a look at the guitar parts. Now it's really important that you can effectively communicate with other musicians. So in times when they say, I want you to play the 5th fret on the E string, you should adjust your bridge. In that part, you should play your neck pickup, things like that. You know what they're talking about. And of course, you can convey the same things back to them. So you can go back and forth and communicate effectively. And so it's really important. You want to play the guitar, you need to know what all your guitar parts are and what they do. So that's what we're going to cover here, and we're also going to go over 3 different guitars so you can see a little bit differences between them. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump right into it and get started. So this is my main guitar. This is a PRS McCarty, and I've had it for a while, and it plays really nice. I love this guitar. And so we're going to take a look at this one, and then of course this is an electric guitar. Take a look at this one, go take a look at another electric guitar and acoustic guitar. And so yeah, let's go ahead and get started with the 3 main guitar parts. This is the 3 parts that you want to learn first, and it's pretty easy. This part is your head, this is your neck, and this is your body. Just like the human body itself. Head, neck, body. So that's easy enough. Get that down. And then I'm going to zero in on the smaller parts. Now, these right here, we turn them one way, tightening up, loosening up, this, adjust the strings. And this is for tuning our guitar, right? So what do you think these are called? They're called tuners. Whew, that was a hard one, huh? So you can call them tuners, tuning pegs, tuning keys. They have a variety of names, but tuners is perfectly fine. And these right here, these 6 little posts sticking up, they're sticking outwards. These are called tuning posts. These are where your strings wrap around. So when you turn it, these posts turn and they'll tighten up or loosen up your string. And yep, that's how that works. This right here, I know this is hard to see. This black piece right here, let me show you on the acoustic guitar. The acoustic guitar, it's easy to see. It's all white. There's your neck, your head, your neck. This white thing right here is called a nut. We'll go back to the electric guitar. Now you can see where that is. Maybe you can see a little bit better. See how it's, I know it's blended in, but there's a bit of dark piece right there. That's called your nut. And that's what the strings set in when they move from the neck to the head. And then finally it goes around the tuning post. So make sure you want to know what that is, the nut. Like for me, you might hear me say sometimes, I want you to play, just put your finger on the other side of the nut and put your finger there. Pretend you're playing that like it's a fret. I call it the imaginary fret. And so when I say nut, you want to know what the heck I'm talking about. So let's move on to the next part. Now we said this is the neck. Actually, before we talk about the next thing, which is we're going to look at the fretboard. We've got to look at these lines right here that are going straight down all the way up the neck. These are called fret wires. And you can think of these sections as different frets. 1st fret, 2nd fret, 3rd fret, 4th fret, and etc. And then this is what I was going to talk about just a second ago. You notice you have like a reddish brown right here and then a real dark color right along here. Well, that dark color is what's called the fretboard. So this is the neck, but this dark part is your fretboard, and that's where these frets sit in. So you have your neck, and then this darker part is your fretboard. And then, of course, on top of that is your fret wires, which form your different frets. These dots right here, these are fretboard markers. Of course, you know this is the first fret. These are the odd numbers, 3, 5, 7, 9. It jumps up a couple more frets over here to the 12th fret. And you notice it's 2 dots. So in 12 you have 1 and 2. So use the 2 dots to remind you, 1 and 2. You have a 2 and 12. And that'll help you remember this is the 12th fret. And from there, there's other dots too. This is basically like 2 different fretboards. 1 fretboard here, 1 fretboard here. This first dot is, we'll get more into this later on. Don't worry about this if you don't know really what I'm talking about. But this is a G right here in the first dot, G in the first dot, A in the second dot over here, A in the second dot. And then when I say second dot, I mean second dot after the 12th fret. And then third dot is a B, third dot is a B, fourth dot is a C, what we call C sharp, and the fourth dot over here. Did I say third or the fourth dot? I don't know if I said third or fourth. Fourth dot right here is your C sharp. Fourth dot right here is your C sharp. So it's basically repeating everything going up. And again, if you know what I'm talking about with C sharp, don't worry about it right now. It's not important at this stage. So, yes. So those are your fretboard markers, so you know where you're at on the fretboard. Then let's move on to this section right here. Here's your guitar body, but these are your pickups. And this is going to be your neck pickup. We call it the neck pickup. And this is going to be called your bridge pickup. And that's because this whole thing right here is what we call your bridge. So make sure you know that this is the bridge. And again, neck pickup, your bridge pickup. So they're sitting right next to each one of those. The neck, and there's your bridge pickup. And what these do is they take the vibration from the strings. There's magnets in there, brings it into there, turns it into electrical impulse, goes through all that, goes through your output jack. That's another part you want to memorize, the output jack. Goes into your cord, out into your amplifier, and finally it comes out an analog signal out of your speakers. And that's what you hear. So those are your different pickups. And there's these are called humbucker pickups. You'll see like on a Stratocaster, there'll just be one, and those are single coil pickups. And these are nice because they take out a lot of the hum. If you hear a Stratocaster that has just single coil pickups, you're going to hear a lot of noise, and this eliminates a lot of that. That's humbuckers, get rid of the hum. So now right here, of course, we have our volume and our tone. This switch right here, this is your pickup switch, pickup selector. And on this one, you go all the way up, and it's going to only activate this pickup. Go in the middle, it's going to activate both of them. All the way down, it activates this pickup. And basically, in the middle, you're safe no matter what. It's a combination of both of them. When you're playing clean and strumming chords, probably better to use your neck pickup because it comes out a lot more full sounding. But if you put on distortion, it can make it sound pretty mushy. So again, in the middle, you can have it for your nice clean sound when you're strumming chords, or your distorted sound. You may like the combination of both. But mainly, I like to go with my bridge pickup. And that's because it's a little more thinner sounding, which is not good for when you're strumming chords. You want a more full sound. But with distortion, it makes it a little bit more clear sound, and it really makes a more distinct, sharp sound with distortion. And it's not going to sound as mushy as the neck pickup. And different guitars, I have another guitar where I like to have a little bit of a combination of both. I adjust the volumes on them and stuff, but generally that's what I like to do. Clean, I use my neck pickup. distorted, I use my bridge pickup. So that's all the different parts of this electric guitar. Now let's take a look at another couple guitars here. So I'm going to take this, put it over here, and look at the other electric guitar here. So this is a Kramer, and all the parts, same thing. There's a little bit different. All the tuners are up here on top. You know, your nut is right here. It has these what's called locking tuners. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And then neck, your fretboard, frets, all the same. Your body. This one has one pickup, and it just happens to be that's the way it goes with this one. So you only have a bridge pickup. You notice this bridge is a little bit different. Everything is, and we'll talk about that in a second. And it has one volume control because you only have one pickup. And there's your output jack. Everything is the same except for this has what's called a whammy bar. I didn't get the bar and put it in here, but that allows you to go and loosen up the strings or even lift it back up and makes that really dive bomb kind of sound. And this is called a locking system here. And this is a Floyd Rose. It's kind of a pain to tune. So you gotta take that into account whether you want to actually have this kind of setup or not. But once you get it set up, it stays in tune really well. You can dive bomb all you want and it'll stay in tune. And again, you notice this looks a lot different. And what you do is you notice this nut is a bit different too. It has these little these little Allen screws here that go in, and what these do is you tighten them up and it clamps down on the strings. And then what you can do here is when you go and you bring the pressure down and then let it come back up, it comes back up because the springs in the back, it's just going to loosen up, but that's fine because the strings are clamped down. If the strings were not clamped down, then these strings would be loosening up all the way over to, completely right to the tuning post. And then when that loosens up, it means it's going to move these strings a little bit, and those strings are going to go out of tune. However, when we have this clamp and it clamps down, you can do that all day, and these are going to stay the same tension. They're going to have the same tension throughout, and it's not going to be affected at all. So with this clamp down, you can do whatever you want, and it's not going to affect anything. It's going to stay right in tune. But when you clamp these down, you can no longer tune your strings like this. So you have to make sure first you got it in the general area or how you want it to be tuned. Then you clamp them down. A lot of times you do them one by one, but then there's these little, it's kind of hard to see, but these little circles right here, that's your fine tuners. And that's what you use to actually tune your guitar. And you just do some fine tuning in there. And again, when you go and you tune these up, it's a real pain in the butt, to be honest. And so I have one of these guitars because one is it's a guitar I had when I was a teenager, so I have sentimental value. But I want one guitar that does have the whammy bar on here, the tremolo system. So I can do all the dive bombs if I want to. And but again, once you clamp it down, you're good. It's getting there that's the pain. But once you clamp it down, you can dive bomb all you want and everything is good. So really, that's the only really major difference aside from this being just one pickup instead of two pickups. It's this whole tremolo system right here. And so that's the really only difference between that and the other guitar. Let's go ahead and look at the acoustic. And acoustic, again, is going to have a lot of similar things. Your head, body, neck, your fretboard, your frets. The markers are actually up on top. I don't know if you can see them. You can just barely see little white lines. There's only actually a couple on this one, but yeah. So it's a little harder to keep track. You can kind of lose track of where you're at, but with experience, you should be okay. But there's other guitars too that do have the acoustic guitars that have the markers right on the fretboard also, just like the electrics. This one's a little different too because the tuning pegs are going downwards like this. This is kind of more of like how a classical guitar is set up. The posts are right in the side, the actual head itself. But yeah, everything else, the nut, you got all that. Down here, this is your bridge. And then this white thing right here is what's called the saddle. This is what the strings sit over. Think of a horse. You got your saddle, you put your two legs over it. Well, those two legs are basically like your strings. Your saddle, your strings sit on top of the saddle and kind of hang over the side and the back. So bridge and your saddle. And then we don't have pickups right here. Well, actually, there is one on the inside. This is an electric acoustic. But this is your sound hole. And what happens is you hit the strings, the sound goes into the sound hole, resonates throughout the body, and then comes back out. So you have your own little amplifier built in pretty much. So that's one difference between the acoustic and electric. And then this particular one does have a little pickup inside. So you see it's got some electronics here, which some have tuners built in right into them. This has a little EQ and volume, and you put a little battery in there because it's electronic thing, so you gotta have to have battery in there. And so yeah, you can actually plug it in. This one you can plug in right here. That's your output jack. And yeah, there's a lot of acoustics that are not electric, but there's acoustics that are electric also. And they all have this, it's the same sound. It's just that ones that are electric, you can plug into like an amp or whatever if you're going to go to perform somewhere. But if you're just in your home, you really don't need to have an acoustic electric. Acoustic on its own is perfectly fine. And really, that's the only real difference. There's a couple different things within the between the electric and acoustic. Basically, all the other parts are the same. Just you don't have pickups, you have a sound hole, and a couple little differences, like the bridge is a little bit different and stuff. But basically, that's it. That's the difference between all those different guitars. So there you go. They're the different parts of the guitar, and we showed you 3 different guitars. A couple versions of the electric and one of the acoustic. And there's all kinds of variety of guitars out there. So the more you get your hands on, the more you can be able to check out all the little differences. But generally, all those parts are going to be the same. It'll be little variations, and maybe they might be an extra thing in one that's not on another. But those are your general basic parts that are going to be common in most all guitars. And one thing you want to do when you're doing this is don't try to memorize all the parts at once. Your head, body, and neck is probably going to become really quick, but then maybe add in your tuning pegs. Make sure you have those memorized. Then maybe add in the tuning post, and then you got that going. Then maybe your nut. Make sure you have all that memorized really well. And then little by little, frets, add in the frets, add in the fretboard, and so on. Just one by one, add in another. Instead of trying to memorize it all in one shot. And you're going to, as you move along, you're going to recognize this theme. It's going to go the same thing with songs. You're not going to go through whole songs and try to memorize them in one shot. You're going to take them little bitty parts, and then you're going to add to it little by little. So this is a common thing when you're learning how to play guitar. So that's pretty much it. Basically, it's if you have an acoustic guitar, focus more on the acoustic parts. If you have an electric guitar, focus more on the electric guitar parts. But it's still good to learn what the other parts are on the other style guitar, because eventually electric guitar player is going to want to get an acoustic guitar. Many times acoustic guitar player is going to want to have an electric guitar. It's just to have fun jamming on, maybe add a little distortion, have fun with it, or just to record if they like to record, adding an electric guitar part to their recordings. So it's good to know, have at least an idea of all the general parts of the other style of guitar that's not your preferred style of guitar. That's basically it. There you go. There's all your guitar parts. Get those memorized, and we'll keep moving along. All right, we'll see you in the next one.